This video shows you how to lay out pieces of aluminum to be cut on the iron worker and in combination with the plasma cutter. So we're going to be cutting out 2" by 4" pieces of metal. This is an example of one that was ran through the iron worker and then it's got a plasma cutter cut on this side of it. You can tell where it's a little bit rougher with the plasma cutter. We're going to try and avoid using the plasma cutter and try to use the iron worker as much as possible because it's a quick, clean cut. So we're going to try and fit as many of these pieces on this piece of aluminum as possible. So we can start stacking them like that, and to where they'd stack, or almost like a stamp. We'd get a bunch of marks all the way down. We can put them this direction. You can see here that we are close for it falling off, but we'd be able to start it here, and then maybe we could do one here. We just have to think through how we're going to do this. Basically, you're just going to pick a plan or pick a direction that you're going to go with this, and then you're just going to repeat. So I'm going to go, I'm going to measure from here over 2 inches. And when I make my line, I'm going to make a V. So I start at the 2, come out, start at the 2, come out. Then I know exactly where that point is. Then I'm going to come all the way down to this side, and I'm going to make the V indicator at the 2. And I'm going to use a straight edge, lining up the V on both sides, making sure that my straight edge doesn't move. Test it out, make sure that you're going to be in the right spot. It looks like I am. Go the whole way. As you're using the Sharpie or a pencil or something, you probably want to rotate it a little bit as you're going, so that way the point stays crisp and you can see exactly where you're going. So right now I have a line going all the way down from one end to the other end. I know that I can divide that up into 4" pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can hook this on, and then I'm just going to put a little notch here, and I'll explain that here in a minute, why I'm only doing a notch and not the V. And it doesn't end really nicely. I've got a little bit left over, so I know that the plasma cutters are going to be involved there. So now this is where I'm explaining why I did the notch and not the arrow pointing to the number, like what I did on the ends. So here I'm going to be using a speed square. So I don't necessarily need the arrow to get the exact center because I'm using the square edge to help me out. Now I'm going to make my line from this point on. I'm going to make it go as far as it can because I'm going to be stacking more cuts next to this one. So this is going to get me a lot of 2" by 4" pieces. So now you guys can see, try to hold it so the glare's not on it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces that are 2" by 4", and then I have this little bit extra that's not going to be usable. So I can go back through here and make a bunch more, and then I could go through here again and set a bunch more. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to draw that out, and then I'll start the video again and talk about it. Okay, so I've measured out, took the tape measure and went 2, 4, 6, 8, and then I slid it over, did the same thing. I already had the 2, so then it was 4, 6, 8, and then the 8 drops because now the 8 is hanging out over here. So then it's 6, and then I was able to get a 4 in right there. So at this point, it's not going to be very easy for me to take this short speed square and bring it over. If there's a longer speed square available, you can use that. Another option would be to take the tape measure and measure out where it's going. Or you could use a shorter piece of metal that extends the square's capabilities by sending a straight line further. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I have my speed square on here. I have this piece of metal, and I bring it all the way over. And I can do that at each of the spots. And then this one isn't going to be a full piece. If it's only losing a little corner of it, you could keep it, but that's losing quite a bit, so I'm not going to keep that one. This will be wasted. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I could probably, nope, I cannot fit another one in there. So that is what I have. So this gets everything laid out to where I can cut it. However, we still have the dilemma of the iron worker being hard to see where the blade is. So we have notes here. So the blade is 12 inches wide, meaning that nothing more than 12 inches can go through the blade. So as I'm measuring this out, I know that this part from right here over is not going to fit through the blade or fit into the iron worker itself. So I could take it to the plasma cutter first, and I could cut it down to 12 inches if I wanted this end to go in first, which there's a lot of benefits to doing that and saving the skinny end for last. So that's what I would do, is I take it over to the plasma cutter, plasma cut that off. You will have to grind it a little bit to get the boogers off of it, the burrs that form when you plasma cut aluminum or anything for that matter. So you want that to be smooth on the on all sides, so that way it will slide right into the iron worker. So that's how I go about cutting it. However, the next part that we need to know is that the orange hold down is 4 3/4 of an inch from the blade. Meaning, if I want this line to cut, I can measure back 4 3/4 of an inch from that line. Actually, I forgot to extend my very last line. So I want it to be 4 3/4 of an inch from here back, and that's where it's going to line up on the orange line. So I can get my tape measure, 4 3/4. I'm going to come over here, 4 3/4. I can connect the dots, connect the arrows, I should say. And I want to make sure that I'm I'm making this as easy as possible for lining up and cutting it. So I'm not going to draw a straight line here. I do have a red marker, so this would be easy for me if you have two colors. But for you guys, you probably don't have two colors of Sharpie. So do a dotted line for your measurement line and do the solid line, which is what we already did, for your cut line. So when I go up to the iron worker, I know that my first cut is going to have this dotted line right there at the edge of the orange hold down. So I don't even really have to pay too much attention to where the blade is. I am going to check it just to make sure that I'm close, but that's going to get me very close to having, well, that's going to get me right on to where this is at the orange hold down. It's going to cut right here on this line. So to get my next one, I want to measure from this line. I want this line to be cut. So I'm going to measure back 4 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to do this on, I'm going to put two measurements on here so that way I know that I'm accurate and I know that I'm cutting square. Bring in my straight edge. And I'm doing my dotted line again, because this is where I'm going to be cutting, or lining it up to cut. So this dotted line will cut this line. This dotted line will cut this black line. And I just keep working my way back, knowing that at some point I'm not going to be able to cut anymore because this is going to go into the machine, and we can't do that. It cannot go past the orange hold down. So I won't be able to cut this last one for sure. I'll probably be able to cut this one, because there 4 3/4 would end up being right there. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out the rest of these as far as I can. That will cut these with the most clean, crisp cuts that we can get on this iron worker, and then I'll have to go over to the plasma cutter to do the rest of it. After I'm done plasma cutting this, iron worker cutting it, shearing it, and then plasma cutting the little pieces here, I will need to take them to the grinder and clean them up. These are going to be the pieces that you're going to use for your welding assignment. So you can go ahead and do this and then get them cleaned up, ready to go for the welding.